Paul Hamilton's appearance brought to you by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this. Heck of a time last night, Paul, at the arena. Full crowd, full attendance on a Tuesday. Playoff vibe, and the Sabres come out with 2 points. I feel like the vibe walking into the building was really high. The vibe walking out was phew, because they had to hold on, Paul, but they did it.
They did, and it's like Lindy Ruff always says, sometimes you don't have your A game, and you got to find a way to win. It's not an excuse to lose a game because you don't have your A game. And they had their A game for a while. I thought Buffalo by far was the better team to start, and the score showed it. It was 3-0, and things were going well. They were controlling play. The fans were going wild. And everything was going great, and then all of a sudden Vegas, it started going their way, and then next thing you know, they get 2 goals within a minute, or 2 minutes rather, and it's 3-2. And you would get the feeling a couple years ago, that's when you would be sitting there going, uh-oh, this isn't going to end well. You would just know they weren't going to win that game. But now they all right, we know how to defend a lead. We still have a 1-goal lead. Let's just go out and play the way we find a way to win this hockey game, and they did. And there was a lot of pressure from Vegas, but one thing, if you notice too, a lot of chances that looked like they were going to be grade A chances hit a skate, hit a stick, hit a leg, big save, and that's on purpose. I mean, the Sabres are filling passing lanes. They're filling shooting lanes. And so, what appeared to be like an uh-oh situation wound up hitting a skate and going wide. Now, sometimes it can hit a skate and go in, but still. And then, Lyon made big saves too. So, you look at the end of the day at shot attempts, Vegas only had 1 more attempt than Buffalo did. And I was a little surprised when I saw that, but then I started thinking, I go, well, that's because Buffalo is getting most of the shot attempts early. And then Vegas was getting most of the shot attempts late. By the time it was over, it kind of balanced itself out, as far as, the game went.
Right. Like, I was getting a little annoyed, Paul, that in the third period, like the Sabres just could not hang on to the puck for more than 5 seconds at a time and couldn't possess it. But if you're going to do a lot of dump and chase and not have it very often, you got to prevent the chances. And I don't know if you saw this stat, but in the second period, it was much more wide open. The chances were 14-10 in favor of Buffalo, and in the third, they were 5-5. So, you just didn't really have many chances on either side. And when you have the lead, I guess sometimes that ends up, working out for you.
Well, as I said, a lot of Vegas's chances went by the boards because, As I said, the Sabres were filling passing lanes and doing a good job of it. But you're right, Vegas had the puck a lot, and plays looked like they were going, uh-oh, but then uh-oh went away because the puck hit a skate and went in the corner. So it didn't materialize into anything big. And Lindy Ruff talked about that after the game, basically what you just did. He goes, we did have some chances to score again. He said, but we unfortunately didn't capitalize on them. But he said there were some golden opportunities to get another goal and get back up by 2 goals. He goes, we just didn't convert.
We haven't gotten into this yet. It's 2 hours into the show. I don't think we've brought this up yet, guys. Paul, there were not a lot of power plays in the game, 1 each. And was the Sabres power play the worst power play in the history of the NHL? Listen, we all have our complaints about their power play in general. This one was comically bad. How many different drop passes to how many different people, guys not in position? Mm-hmm. I mean, wow, was it a bad one?
It was, and that's the thing about this power play recently. Now they have power play goals in 8 out of 10 games, which is still good.
How? It is amazing.
Coming into the game, they had power play goals in 8 out of 9 games.
How?
and what is happening is they will get the goal, and they might have 3 other attempts it looked like yesterday.
Yeah.
So everybody says, well, the power play stinks, and they did get a goal though around in there somewhere, and the other 3 didn't look real good, but they still were 1 for 4. And they never got 2 power play goals in a game in any one of those games. They got 1 goal in 8 out of 9 games. I looked, I think they were around 10th in the league on the power play during that time. And as I said, now it's 8 out of 10 games. But that's the thing that I just laugh. I think people are shocked when I say.
Paul,
I am.
This is analytics. This is analytics versus the eye test, right? Like, well, the numbers say it's good,
Right.
but then we watch it, we're like, holy cow, this power play. But anyway, yeah, it was a weird game. Like, I was waiting for one penalty to be called, and it just felt like, I don't know if they were just letting them play, whatever it might have been. Like, it was a sloppy game. It was a herky-jerky game. It was whatever.
You know how I feel about NHL officiating. It's awful, but quite honestly, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, I don't think they missed too much. I wasn't sitting up there going, how did you not call that? There was a trip somewhere that I don't even remember what period it was in. It
would have been maybe Krebs late.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like he had a clear shot to almost to the open net, and they tripped him. Yeah.
Yeah, but for the most part, I didn't sit there. I wasn't sitting there thinking, "Boy, you missed that." Oh, boy, you missed that. There just didn't seem to be too many penalties in that game.
Yeah. Well, Paul, the pregame ceremony was great. Fans cheered for even Jack Eichel's name announced. There was a big cheer for the face-off. They brought out Tage's family, and then the booing returns for the actual game itself. So I felt like the whole vibe of it was pretty well done. The gold medal ceremony, the night itself, they got the job done. I want to ask you about Robert Thomas, though, and that was the backdrop to yesterday, was the Robert Thomas trade chatter. We have an update from Darren Dreger today that seems to kind of, cool it down a bit. I don't think it has to be dead at all. What are your thoughts on what was reported and what the pursuit of Thomas could and should be for Jarmo Kekalainen and the Sabres?
It reminds me of the Peterka trade. I mean, Kevin Adams basically told Utah, if you're not putting Doan in the trade, forget it.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing it, and basically hung up the phone. And that came from both GMs. It wasn't like that was a rumor.
No, it was in the Sabres embedded too. Like we had a
Right.
video of, I think, Adams on the phone basically saying that.
Right. So we're not dealing with a rumor here. That happened, where basically it's like this is the trade that will get it done. We're not doing it if Doan is not in. And then Utah, they talked about it, thought about it, and said, we really want Peterka. So all right, let's put him in. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that kind of stuff can happen. That's why what you said, Jeremy, maybe if all this is true, what this reporting is, maybe it's not dead because all of a sudden you can just decide, all right, we want this player. We're going to meet the price type of a situation, just like Utah did to the Sabres.
I feel like there are also tales of this, Paul, and I don't know if you remember one specifically. Darren Dreger has just also added to this about Chris Johnston reporting that the Sabres and Blues have also been talking about a defenseman. Buffalo wants a right-shot defenseman. Justin Falk and Colton Parayko have been mentioned as possibilities. And there are also calls, Paul, where you're talking about one guy for 2 days. All of a sudden it switches and you make a different trade. I feel like the Sabres have engaged in those over the years. So maybe Parayko, maybe Falk, maybe Thomas, maybe a combination.
Those are all big ideas.
Right. Maybe it's a blockbuster or maybe nothing happens. But they could, of course, look for a defenseman as well.
And then, what you got to deal with what the cap and all that when you're talking about it. All right, how do you make room on the cap to get a certain player? In either case, the Falk, you might be able to fit that in. Thomas, you wouldn't quite yet. You'd have to finagle a little bit. So there's just a lot of different things that you have to talk about, and it's not Friday yet, not even close to Friday yet. So there's certainly many ways any type of a trade talk can go right now.
What is your overall thought on the idea of trading for Thomas? Because he's not maybe the biggest need for the Sabres, but I guess I have not loved the idea of, well, you shouldn't be the team that makes this trade because you should just be happy to be here and make the playoffs. Like, I think they're proving to the conference that they're as good as anybody. I mean, they gave Tampa a run for their money in 2 games. Why shouldn't they go for it a little bit? I know this isn't a little bit. He's expensive, but
it's also not a rental. It's
not a
5
rental, right?
years of a player.
That's, Paul, where I like the idea even more is he's a 26-year-old. making $8 million with 5 years left. Like I'm not really afraid of any of the money or the contract or anything.
Well, he fits the mold of what Kevin Adams always used to talk about, getting somebody that not only helps you now but helps you down the road. That's why the Tuch trade was so nice, because you got a guy at the time who was at a great age and just kind of growing into his abilities right now. And that's another thing, by the way. What if the Tuch thing is over and it's not going to happen? Well, maybe you're going to make room by moving him and then bringing in a guy like Thomas, type of an idea. So that hasn't been rumored or anything. I'm just throwing that out there. That's how you open up space. If that is basically over and you guys have just come to the realization that you're not going to find common ground, so that could go into play too if that were indeed to happen. So there's something. I don't anticipate Tuch being traded unless that situation comes up where you're getting a player like Thomas and you're trying to open up space and you've realized you're not going to find common ground. Then all of a sudden that situation can change.
Paul, do you feel like, due respect to Alex Tuch and the player he is and how important he is, that the Sabres, there was another report today that they're not going to get a deal done with him this week, which means he's going to the deadline, and if they keep him or trade him, whatever. Like, do you feel like that if they were not in such a strong position, they might feel pressure to have had this thing done by now, and that, while, again, they might really love Tuch and Jarmo might want Tuch back, what they've done has made it so they don't have to do that?
Yeah, and they don't. Quite honestly, that's really not new reporting. I actually didn't have it in my head at all that the signing would happen before the trade deadline. I don't think there was really any way that was going to be happening. So that's really nothing new. But I think there are people who think, well, the trade deadline is the deadline. You got to have them signed by then, or just forget it. No, that's not true. I mean, July 1st is the deadline. You got all the way to July 1st to try to come up with common ground. If reporting is accurate and the Sabres are not even willing to get to $9 million, I think they're in dreamland. I don't know what they're thinking. It's, to me, it's pretty cut and dry. I've said this from the start. The Sabres really have no leverage with Alex Tuch, and they still don't. I mean, it's basically you're going to have to get close to his number or let him go. It's as simple as that. I mean, he's holding all the cards, and I don't think 11 is unreasonable for him. I know it's a lot more than Tage Thompson makes. If you're trying to say to yourself, well, we can't put him over Tage Thompson by that far. Well, Tage Thompson signed his deal when he signed his deal. That's totally different to me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And when Kempe, who I think Tuch is a shade better player because I think there's more things you get out of him than Kempe, than just goal scoring. And if he's up around 10-7 or so, then $11 million for Tuch I don't think is unreasonable.
Paul, I think you're right that Tuch holds the cards for himself to get paid and get a contract. I do think, though, that he has lost the card of if the Sabres don't sign him, their fans will revolt and everything will be terrible. Like I
disagree.
Really? You think if he leaves, the fans will revolt?
I don't think the fans will be happy at all.
Well, I don't know if the fans will be happy, but what they've put together this year, I feel like
he's a big part of what they put together. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just a bit player that, replacing him would be extremely difficult for the types of things he does. He does a couple of things in games that other players just don't do. The way he steals the puck and then turns it into offense like immediately. The way he can maybe turn penalty killing, very good penalty killing, into offense at times too. It's just something that other guys on this team just don't bring to the table.
Dude, you feel like that might be a little different if they did trade for Thomas here this week? Not to say he's the exact player. He's not even the same position. But basically, because that's what I also thought yesterday is, well, if I'm trading for Robert Thomas at $8 million, I'm probably saying goodnight to the idea of paying Tuch 10 or 11,
right.
Given what your
That's
cap
what I
is.
meant. Yeah, before.
Yeah. Right.
And Thomas's strengths are going to be different than what Tuch's are. His strengths and weaknesses are going to be totally different from what Tuch's strengths and weaknesses are. He's going to do things that are better than Tuch. Tucker's going to do some things, other things that are better than Thomas. I mean, they're just two totally different players.
On this recent Dreger update about the defenseman idea and Parayko and Falk, like, I think when I thought mostly about them adding a defenseman, it's a lower level than that. I think you brought up with me, though, Justin Falk last week.
Yeah.
Do those
That's the level I'm looking for because
Okay.
I really think they got to take some minutes off their top four that aren't named Darlene, so I guess top three of the top four. They can't be rolling those guys out there 23, 24 minutes a game in this condensed schedule. That's not going to work. They're going to wear down. And I think they need somebody on their third pair that can – I'm not looking to replace anybody in the top four, but I'm looking at somebody in the third pair that can play about 18, 19, 20 minutes and bring those other three down a little bit.
That's where Falk is interesting to me because he is – I guess you could definitely play him 18, 19 and still get great
absolutely.
results. He's never been a player that's played less than 22. Like, he's been a top pair guy. And I guess this would be filed under good problem to have is, a guy that is probably better than a third pair role, but why am I going to be upset about that?
Yeah, and he's always had an offensive touch to him, so maybe some of those other power plays that don't wind up in the net, you got your one goal, but the other three are awful. Maybe he can help on some of the other three that are awful because let's face it, I really, really like the improvement of Owen Power this season, but he is not a power play guy. They keep trying it, and they keep trying it, and they keep trying it, and he's just not.
Yeah. Paul Hamilton, his appearance brought to you by Raylax. Honda Raylax. We got this. Thank you, Paul.
All right, take care, guys.